Hey besties, my name is Charlotte if you're new here. If you're not new, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. It's so good to have you. I'm so happy you are here. And obviously, we have some things in common because if you clicked on this video, you probably also think that we have now entered the best month in the whole year for reading. And we need a whole TBR for that because of course, this is my autumn TBR. I'm so excited. There is nothing that hits like autumn reading. Autumn was 2023 was when I first really got back into reading and reading like serious amounts of books, and I was about to say every autumn since, there's been one autumn since. Anyway, I just think autumn reading hits. Like the evenings are dark and cold, the mornings are dark and cold, the weekends are grey and rainy, and the books need to fit that vibe. So let's talk about the plan for this video. So we're going to tackle the physical TBR first because obviously there are a lot of autumn new releases and we'll talk about those at the end, but we're going to tackle my physical TBR first. We're going to split into genres. I'm not gonna lie, most of my physical TBR is fantasy. We have two not fantasy, so we are going to talk about those first. We'll then go to fantasy and then we'll go into our new releases. The first book that we have on my autumn TBR in our fiction section is The Nightingale. I am so excited to read this. It's also worth prefacing with this TBR video, I personally like to go into books blind, so I won't be sharing too much about what the books are about because I don't know too much about what the books are about. So the thing I know about this is that it is set, I think, in Paris during World War II, and that was enough. I was sold, and I just, like, after reading The Women, I genuinely just want to read like everything Kristen Hannah has written because that book was beautiful, and I feel like if that book was beautiful, most of her books are probably going to be amazing reads. So yeah, we have The Nightingale, and I kind of feel like this maybe isn't going to be like necessarily like a super autumny read, like, you know, we've got purple fields on the front, but I do feel like it would be a nice way to break up the fantasy, and I feel like historical fiction knows no season. I feel like you can read it any time. The next book that is just a fiction is very autumnal, and I feel like September particularly is the only month I can read it in the whole year because it's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So last year I read If We Were Villains, and then last weekend I read Ninth House, and I just love dark academia. I love it so much and I'm so ready. I feel like nothing says autumn like a rainy, drizzly day and a dark academia. I'm really excited to go step into this because I adored If We Were Villains, and I think from what I have learned, The Secret History, obviously The Secret History came out first, but so If We Were Villains is very similar to The Secret History. It just has Shakespeare in. This doesn't have Shakespeare, but it has the same kind of components. And obviously I know the infamous sound, well, famous sound from the first page, so I kind of know that we're solving a murder, I think, in this. Also, if you are wanting to read this autumn, I got this a few weeks ago in TK Maxx for £7, so recommend a trip to TK Maxx this autumn, obviously, because it's the mother of all things autumn. Okay, that brings us on to our fantasy books already, which is so exciting. So I'm actually going to start with one that kind of is fantasy, kind of is historical fiction, because it is a mythology, and this is the second book in a series. So if you watch my last video, you'll have seen I read Morgan Is My Name. This is the second book in the series. So that book was a book club book, and I think when I finished the video I was like, I'm gonna see what everyone else thought of it, like that has got on to the second book, and everyone was like, it just gets better. So I was like, okay. I came home and the next day I ordered it for next day delivery because I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to read the second book. So this is Her. I'm really excited to see where this story is going to go, because the first story, like the first book, was very much giving like origin story, and I feel like we're gonna get a little bit more to do with like Camelot and like Merlin and King Arthur and all of that stuff in this book, and I'm really excited for that. And again, if this book is as atmospheric as the first book. The first book spanned seasons, but there was something about it that just felt so like autumnal. I think it's something to do with medieval times. There's something quite quite autumnal feeling about the medieval times, do you know what I mean? Now we're into full-on fantasy. So we have For the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This is a book I've been umming and ahhing about because the reviews of the traditionally published version, which is this version, have been a little bit mixed. And then I saw that like you definitely have to read the traditionally published, because like even if you could get your hands on the indie published, like the second book in the series follows this because they changed so much for the traditionally published version. But then I saw Ellen's video where she sat down to read the second book and was like, okay, like I actually do need to go back and read the traditionally published version. And she gave this like, I think like 3.5 stars or something, but then she gave the second book 5 stars. And if the second book is that good, then I feel like it's worth just like persisting with this. So I have tried to read this before and I did DNF it, but I was in a bit of a slump then, and I don't read fantasies when I'm in a slump. I feel like fantasies are not the books for when you're in a slump. But yeah, this isn't a long book. I think it's barely, it's not even 400 pages. So I feel like if I can push through this and then get to a book that is like a 5-star read for like a booktuber that I find like I have quite a similar taste to Ellen now, I feel like I will, like if I push through this and I could have potentially unlocked a 5-star. And I feel like as a reader, if we know that we can do that, we're gonna do it, do you know what I mean? So I'm very excited about this, and I'm also excited to read another dragon book, because that is the main thing that I know about this, is that it is dragons. The cover gives it away. But yeah, I'm very excited to read a dragon book because I don't think I've read a dragon book since like Onyx Storm, which is wild. Okay, so another fantasy book I have is The Prison Healer. I'm a little bit nervous for this. I don't know if I'm going to like it because I do believe this is a YA. However, I'm very intrigued by it. I know it has trials, and typically I love any book with trials in, and I feel like it's just the awesome vibe. I also feel like YA fantasies, like I do still prefer, like it's more, I would say like YA romances that I just can't get on board with, like I'm not into them. But I feel like a YA fantasy is a little bit different. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this. I have read the blurb of this a few times because it's kind of sounds like it doesn't give too much away, but I'm also aware that starting this is starting a new series. The same with For the Flames, and I've kind of got down to a point where like I'm not really in the middle of any series, so here we go, we're going to be starting some more. Okay, next up we have a book where if you have watched any of my TBRs, you will know this one has come up a lot, and I'm pretty sure I've made it clear. I am saving this for autumn. Phantasma. I actually think this is going to be the book I pick up after my current read, and it will be in a video. I'm really excited to this. I've kind of mainly heard this described as like a grown-up version of the Caraval series, and I really enjoyed Caraval as a series. I thought it was such an interesting concept. I loved that you just never really knew like what to believe, and what was happening. I am aware this is kind of, well, I say kind of, I am aware that this is dark, and I've not read too many like dark romances, I don't think, but I feel like I guess I like things that have like a darker, deeper plot. I don't know, I'm not too sure, so we'll see how I get on. I do feel very excited about this, and yeah, I like the whole concept of like this game that is similar to Caraval but just a bit more mature, because some of Caraval definitely felt, because it definitely could have been darker and more twisted, and you kind of wanted that in places from Caraval, but where it was a YA book I just don't think it gave. So I'm hoping that this will give that kind of like sick and twisted game. We then have The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. So this is a book that I picked up a while ago, and actually Ninth House was the first Leigh Bardugo that I've read, so I kept finding that I was adding her books to my TBR, never reading them. After reading Ninth House, I feel like, oh my god, what have I been missing out on? And I'm really excited for this. I believe that this is something to do with like, it's a fantasy book but set during the Spanish Inquisition, and I personally love the blend between like a historical fiction and a fantasy, like Babel. I thought that was such a good book, like where you have like it's in a real world setting and a world that like a time in history that we're aware of, but there's the fantastical elements. I think that is really, really fun. I'm very excited for this one. I'm hoping that I'll be able to fit this in. I don't know if it is going to be giving autumn, but I feel like it might be a little bit dark, and I feel like anything a little bit dark gives autumn. Next up we have Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. So I did put a soft DNF on this last year because I was just finding it a little bit weird and I couldn't really get into it. And then since then I've seen a few people read it in vlogs and everyone has kind of said like the first bit is strange, you're not really going to know what's going on, and you just need to push through that because then it gets really, really good and it makes a lot of sense. So I think that is just what I need to do, because yeah, the start of this is so strange, so weird. I can't even describe it, but I feel like that is kind of like Olivia Blake's writing. Like, it is a little bit weird and you're not always aware of what's going to be going on and what's going to be happening, but like that's also kind of the beauty of her writing. So I'm intrigued and I'm going to give this another go properly this autumn. I feel like this might be a good October book. Okay, that brings us on to our hardback. So I'm going to start with my current read because it's kind of on a TBR. Basically, as soon as it entered September, I was like, I'm ready for my autumn reads, and I sat down and I picked this book up. And it's The Night and the Moth. I am really enjoying this. Really enjoying this. I am only 130 pages in, and I'm not too sure where we're going because, again, I have gone in blind, and I love going in blind, but I love Rachel Gillick's writing. I feel so like good in her writing. I love like the Gothic elements. I love the worlds that she creates because they're such like in-depth and complex magic systems, but they don't feel crazy complex and in-depth when you're reading them. It's something that I really found when I was reading like One Dark Window, is I'd be reading it and I'd be like, this makes complete sense, and then I would try and explain it either like in a video or to someone, and I would find myself like rambling on for ages just trying to explain the basics of this magic system, and I was like, whoa, this is really complex. When you're reading it, it doesn't feel complex, and that feels the case for this one. And I feel like the way that you learn about the magic system in this is so clever, because at the start I was like, what are these people, who are they, like what is going on? And then the way it was explained to us I really liked, because it was kind of info dumpy, but it also made so much sense, like, and it worked well. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this book, and it had to be on my autumn TBR, because nothing says autumn like a Gothic fantasy, especially one by Rachel Gillick, my queen. Another one that I have been anticipating for a while and saving until these colder months, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I'm so excited by this. All I know is that it's toxic lesbian vampires, and that just sounds absolutely thrilling. And I know that we have time jumps, and it's about like, I believe 3 characters separated through history, and I just find that like a really interesting concept, and I just feel very excited by this. And I loved Addie LaRue. I read that earlier this year and I thought that was such a good book. I love the writing style, so I'm really excited to see what she's done in this book, because I feel like it will just be just as incredible. Okay, our next book is going to be continuing a series, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to pick this next book up. With The Rebel Witch. I feel like this came out at the start of this year. To be honest, the start of this year I was just in a reading slump, so I wasn't reading anything, and I think I was kind of like, I think I might just wait for paperback. And then when I was ordering Le Fay, I saw that it doesn't come out for this came up as like a suggested read for me, and I saw when it came to paperback and I was like, I actually cannot wait that long, so I ordered it, and we got The Rebel Witch. So I also ordered The Crimson Moth as a hardback as well, so I have the set. But I'm really excited for this because I did really enjoy this world, and actually The Crimson Moth was a 5-star read for me, so I'm very surprised that it has taken me this long like to pick it up, and even to get like the trophy of the Crimson Moth. So I read that on Kindle Unlimited. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by this, very excited for it. I definitely need to watch like a recap of the Crimson Moth because I don't remember huge amounts of that book, which is one thing that makes me think that maybe it wasn't a 5-star, because I don't remember it. Like, I remember kind of something that happened at the end, and I remember the premise, but otherwise. So yeah, I definitely need to read like a synopsis so I can go into this knowing exactly what happened. But yeah, very excited for The Rebel Witch, and these covers are just gorgeous. That is the best thing about fantasy books. The next one has been on my TBR for nearly a year, with Quicksilver. I don't know why, but there's something about reading this book that makes me feel nervous. I don't know if it's because it's so long or if it's because I've heard such mixed things by it, or like about it. I don't know. I feel like slightly nervous to read this, but I also feel like it is a book that I could really enjoy potentially. Like I don't know, I kind of get like silly little romantasy vibes from this, and I don't know if that's just completely inaccurate and quite offensive to people that really like this series, so sorry. But yeah, and I do just have this cover. It's so annoying that they changed the covers. So I haven't put the second book in this series on my TBR at all. However, if I read this and I really enjoy it, obviously I will end up reading the second book, and to be honest, I might time this around the time the second book releases, because I believe that is this autumn, because there's something so enjoyable about that, like when you're like really excited because you've just finished it, and like then you wait for the pre-order but you only have to wait like a week. That's what I did with Fourth Wing a couple of years ago, and it was just fantastic. And also what I did with the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. It was a really fun reading time, so potentially might have to follow in the footsteps for this one. But yeah, I definitely think it's a book that I need to read. I am just disappointed about the covers being different. I wish that you could just get like a different dust jacket for it. That would be so much better. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to have to buy a whole new book. Okay, and then our final physical book, of course, it has to be Calabasas by R.F. Kuang. I really like R.F. Kuang's books. I need to read The Poppy Wars, and they're definitely a series that I want to read soon. I'm not sure when, because this is already quite a long TBR for how much I've been reading, especially when you add on some of these new releases. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I believe this is kind of like a dark academia fantasy, so we're adding to the list of dark academias because I just kind of love them at the moment. I love them a lot. So I think they had to like dive into hell together to like save their professor, like academic rivals are diving into hell, something like that. I'm not too sure. I honestly wasn't even sure if this was like a fantasy or just like an academia. I feel like R.F. Kuang like really walks the line with her fantasies, and I feel like this is going to be quite similar to Babel in that. And I'm really excited to try this. I think this is going to be kind of fun. I think it is a little bit deep. Like I have heard people say they've had to like Google the meaning of words and stuff. So I'm hoping it's not kind of like just too intellectual for me. But I'm not going to put myself down, and I'm going to say I'm an intellectual queen and I will understand this book and I will enjoy this book. Because yeah, I definitely find like R.F. Kuang books are sometimes books where I'm like, I'm not sure how much I enjoyed that, but like I feel like I really enjoyed it. Like I had that with Babel because the first half is so slow, and I was like, okay, like by the end I was like, that was crazy. I love these characters, like I needed to know everything that happened, but it took me so long to get to that point where I'm like, did I enjoy that? Like did I just like the end, like what's going on? So yeah, I'm excited to see if this is going to be the same, because I also think Yellowface was the same, with like slow for and a half and then like absolutely like crazy, the most insane second half. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's just like a pattern in her writing or not with this one, which could be exciting. Okay, that brings us on to our pre-orders. So I only have one of these books pre-ordered because I have found in the first half of this year that something I'm really enjoying doing is just going to the bookshop to get a book like when it's come out. I feel like when it came to pre-orders, I was pre-ordering a lot of books that were then sitting on my TBR for ages, Gifted and Talented being a great example, because I would get so excited by the concept of it, and then when it actually came to it, I'm like, I'm not actually that interested in it. So I am trying a little bit harder now to not pre-order, but to just go and shop when the books come out. And I think it's quite enjoyable as well, like trying to like I found it really fun trying to find Calabasas when that came out, and like Bury Our Bones in the Midnight School. Like I managed to just find it in Asda, so it was like £10, and I feel like if I'm able to do that, I would kind of prefer to, do you know what I mean? Like if I don't have to spend £25 on a hardback because it's in my local supermarket, I'm gonna go for it. So in this, I'm gonna give a quick honorary mention to Diabound, because I'm very curious about that book. I am aware it's out now, and it is a book that potentially, I don't want to read the blurb of it because I have heard that there's a spoiler on the blurb, but I've seen a lot of like booktubers that I love and I feel like I have quite similar book taste to enjoy that book, and I believe I've seen people say it's in like Tesco's and like supermarkets and stuff. So actually after filming this video, I'm gonna go to Asda. I feel like if they have it, I might pick it up, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I just wanted to give it an honorary mention that it might end up on my TBR, it might not. I'm really undecided with that one. But the books I am very intrigued by for this year, for my autumn TBR, I think they are all fantasies apart from one. Slay. So we have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, which is the third and final book in the Emily Wilde series, and then I finished the series. So this actually came out at the start of the year. However, I've been waiting for the paperback. They do keep pushing the paperback release back, so it is likely that I might not get to this book this year because I do want to wait for the paperback because I have the other two on paperback. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how this series concludes. I really like it as a cozy fantasy. I feel like it's quite a nice way to break up other fantasies as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how we wrap this series up and what happens. And then we have Holly, which is a novella by Adeline Grace. It's part of the Belladonna series. However, it said it's a novella, so I was like, I don't think I'm going to read it. I don't want to spend £17 on a Christmas novella. But then it said it's like 385 pages, and I was like, oh, that's quite long. Like, that's kind of a full book. And it sounds kind of more similar to Foxglove in like what the story is about, and I really enjoyed Foxglove. Foxglove is my favourite book in that whole series, so I feel like that if that is the case, then I will really enjoy this book, and I definitely want to try to read it. And then we have Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake. Oh, my camera's dying. A different angle so that I can continue to film whilst my camera is on charge, so sorry about that. But yeah, we have Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake. This, I believe, is about a sorority of cannibalists or something like that, and I just find that absolutely fascinating. The title got me alone, honestly, and it just sounds quite different. I think it's, so Waterstones have like categorized it so it's fiction and then thriller, but it's also in horror, so it's very different to what I would normally read. Like, I wouldn't normally say that I'm a horror reader, like that's not a normal genre for me, so I'm very excited for this, to just try something a little bit different. We then have The Princess Knight. This is the book that I have on pre-order. I saw a TikTok about this from the author, God, probably like this time last year maybe. I have had this book on pre-order for a very long time. I think it was described as like a medieval version of like Legally Blonde, and I was sold. I was like, okay, adding it to pre-order right this second. And then it's been pushed back a few times now, so I think it's now publishing at the end of October. It was originally going to publish in like May or something, so keeping my fingers crossed that that publication date does stay, because I'll have the cover on the screen. But I think the cover is so beautiful, and I feel like after reading like the Morgan Is My Name series, I feel like having like that medieval vibe is just, I'm kind of loving it. It's kind of fun. And then we have Soul Searching by Lila Sage. So this obviously is also not a complete fantasy, although I believe it has paranormal elements. I think it's a romance with paranormal elements, which I'm very excited about. Again, no one does covers like Lila Sage. Like her, I did not think that we could beat the covers of the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I fear we have done it with Soul Searching, which is also another series. It's the Sweetwater Peak series. I'm very excited for this, very excited for just the cover in general. I don't really know too much about it, but I'm really excited for the concept of it. I just think like it sounds a little bit different. I think it's set in like a little paranormal small town, and I just thought that sounds so fun, and I really like Lila Sage's writing. We then have Crown Tide by Alex Astor. I didn't even realise that this book was coming out. I was scrolling Waterstones new releases because I was like, here, let me just jog my memory and see like what that actually is releasing this autumn, and I saw this and I was like, hang on, didn't know that was coming, did not know that was coming. I really like the Lilac series, so this is the fourth book. So I know there's the Grim and Aura like dual novella thing. Novella. I don't know if I'm gonna end up reading that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna see kind of what people's thoughts and feelings are, because it kind of looks like all it is a special edition, like it's more of like a collector's item. I don't know if it's going to add to the story in any way. I don't know if it's like a necessary read before Crown Tide, but I'm very excited for Crown Tide. I'm really excited to see where we go with this series. I don't know if this is the final book, because it doesn't say, it just says it's the fourth book, which makes me feel like there's going to be more. And I don't really know how much more we can do with this series at this point. I'm not gonna lie, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I love Light Luck and I love Nightshade. Skyshade fell off a little bit for me, so I'm hoping we can bring it back with Crown Tide. Crown Tide. Otherwise I feel like this is going to be like a series that I do just fall off of. And then we have another one that I'm not sure if I will read, but I saw it today and I was like, that looks incredible. It's the most beautiful edition ever and it sounds really interesting. I've never read an Ava Reid, but her new book Inamorata, it sounds really good. It's like a gothic fantasy and I feel like all that needs to be said to me is gothic fantasy, and I'm like, oh okay, like I'm kind of keen for that. I'll give it a go. I just love them. I just really love them, and I saw that and I read about it. The cover really got me. The cover really got me, especially the sprayed edges and the naked hardback. I think this is the Waterstones special edition, but yeah, it is just absolutely gorgeous. So, and it did sound somewhat interesting as well. I kind of skim read like the first few lines of the blurb because again, I like to go into books blind. We also then have The Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I am really not sure if I'm going to read this. I really like Stephanie Garber's books, but I don't know, there's something about it that like isn't speaking to me, but it does come out on my birthday. It does, and I know I'm gonna go book shopping on my birthday, so I feel like I probably will end up buying it. Whether I end up reading it straight away is another matter, but yeah, I'm excited to see what comes from it and like what it is, and I think it might be one that I do look to people's reviews of before picking it up. But yeah, that being said, like I did like Caravan, I did love the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, so I don't know. But yeah, this is the first adult book that she's coming out with, I think. And then we have To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. I haven't read When the Moon Hatched yet, but this cover got me. The cover got me, the Waterstone special edition got me. Let me show you, because I don't know if I'd have put this version on the screen, because I don't think that cover is the standard version. I think that cover is the special edition version, but it sounded interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. We will see. It might not be something I read. I might not get any of those like upcoming books apart from the one I have pre-ordered and probably soul searching, but we do have quite a good TBR. I'm very excited for some awesome reading. I'm very excited to get cozy. I'm very excited to be filming some awesome videos. I am currently filming a Fantasy Girl full reading vlog, like getting into the fantasy vibes for the autumn, which I'm very excited about. And if there are any other fantasy or just autumn things that you would like me to read. Also, honourable mentions to Elsie Silver's new book. I haven't included that in this video at all because I am not enjoying romance at the moment. However, I know it's very likely that I might end up picking that book up at some point. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I'm like, I have like a whole shelf of Elsie Silver books behind me. But yeah, if there's any books that you would like to see in videos or any videos you would like me to do this autumn, let me know and I can make sure that happens. But I'm going to wrap this video up now because I need to edit this and get this uploaded today. I'm filming this on the day of upload. Thank you so much for watching because it's been a quick turnaround. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Please do like and subscribe if you want to make sure that that does happen. But yeah, see you soon. Bye!